Strap yourself in because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
Yes, sir. Reading you loud and clear. Clear. The clock has started.
The clock has started.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
You are now tuned in to this week's episode of our podcast. Today we are going to interview some of the greatest and most influential minds in our field. By sharing our collective expertise, we will show you how to harness, control, and use your own skill set to achieve ultimate success and live the life you want. And now, please welcome your host.
Welcome to this week's Smallest Cast podcast. This podcast is designed for small government contractors, service providers, and manufacturers as part of the government contractor ecosystem, connecting people, organizations, and resources. I'm your host, Just Nate, and we got DK. Welcome, DK.
Thanks, Nate.
You're so weird. And we have somebody very special and unique online. We have Dawn of the Drones. Actual name is Dawn Zoldi. And welcome, Dawn.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Did I get your name right? I mean, other than
You
messing up
did.
the Dawn part.
No, you got it. You got it right.
That's his shtick. He always messes up.
It's not on
his name.
purpose.
I know.
And he's always like, it's written down. I'm like, yeah, but Zoldi is spelled like ZQWXYZOY. And I'm like,
No,
well,
looks
it's
like
not really how it's spelled, but
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I'm excited about today because I've been talking to Dawn now for, I don't know what, about a year at least, Dawn, about getting you on the podcast and talking to you. When I first met Dawn, I'd actually seen your advertisement for your podcast / what's the other thing you get used for your collaboration? The chat,
the
chat
Clubhouse.
one. Clubhouse. Thank you. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Clubhouse. Yeah. And it was Dawn of the Drones. And I thought that is the coolest name for a podcast. Cause I was thinking,
He was jealous.
and I'm sure you thought you did it this way on purpose, right? It's not Dawn of the Drones, like your first name, Dawn. It's like Dawn of the Drones, like the beginning of the drones, right? And so I thought, man, that, go ahead.
yeah, it's got a little twist
Play on
there.
words.
I can't take credit for the name, honestly. It was Major General retired Air Force type James Poss, who gave me the idea. So I give all the credit and props to General Poss.
Oh, again, I was like, that is the coolest name. I got to get a hold of this lady. And I actually ran into you. I don't remember the first time I met you, but I ran into her a couple events, the Colorado UAS conference up there at Mount Princeton. And I
Yep.
just saw you now at Geo Week.
Yep.
She's very engaged. She's also in the most recent edition of Inside GNSS, if you subscribe to that magazine, which is a favorite reader of everybody, I'm sure. She's also got several articles in there. So welcome, Dawn. Thank you for being on today.
Well, thanks again for having me. It's exciting.
Go ahead.
So let's start out with, what's the business name? Is it Dawn of the Drones? Is that the actual business name? Is like an LLC or?
No. So I don't know if this is video too, but my little
It is.
sign's back there. Okay. So the business is called P3 Tech Consulting.
Okay.
And that's people, platforms, policies. That's what the P3 stands for. My business is all about connecting people with an interest in advanced technology platforms with the plans, programs, policies, and information they need to succeed.
Okay.
Lots of different lines of effort. So the one you've been kind of locked on is the Dawn of Drones podcast. That's every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Mountain Time. It's affiliated with Drone Life, which is one of the premier commercial news outlets for the commercial drone industry. And so it beams out to a lot of places, but it dwells on their Drone Life YouTube channel called Drone Life TV. I also have a clubhouse, as Dennis mentioned, affiliated with that, called Drone Law Connections. That's every Thursday, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and tend to have my guest for the podcast that is on Wednesday on the clubhouse the Thursday prior. So that's what we do there. And I do a ton of writing. You mentioned Inside GNSS. I actually do the Washington View column for them. It's a bi-monthly magazine. It comes out every other month, 6 times a year. So you'll see me in there every time. This last one, I actually had 2 articles, which is somewhat unusual. I write for Inside GNSS I'm sorry, I already said that. Inside Unmanned Systems magazine, which is kind of the sister magazine, if you will, to Inside GNSS, same publisher. And I do the Law Tech Connect column for them and some additional writing. And then, I write for Forbes.com. I'm an aerospace and defense contributor. That's a lot less frequent. And Drone Life, Military Embedded Systems, UAS Vision, a lot of different magazines that I contribute to somewhat on the regular. And I do conference planning. So I'm sure we'll get to that, but I have an event coming up, my very first one for myself, because I planned some content with Interdrone previously, and this one is going to be a co-located event with AUVSI XPONENTIal in Orlando in April, and we can talk more about that if you'd like as well.
Hold on. How I want to get back to day one. How did all this start? It's like a lot.
Well, that's where I was going.
I think I read in here that you're actually a lawyer. Is that correct?
I was actually going to go there. So she's a Air Force JAG officer that flies jets, just like
Yeah.
in the Navy JAG show.
I didn't fly it. I sat in the back seat. That's the magazine.
Don't tell him that, Dawn. I was all excited. It's like the real JAG TV show, where the
I know.
Because everybody's a pilot,
all
right?
JAG officers fly jets.
That's exactly right. How did this all start? Well, interesting. So you kind of mentioned I did 25 years active duty, United States Air Force in the JAG Corps as a military attorney, 2 years as a federal civilian, civil service, with the Air Force General Counsel's office as an associate general counsel, business matters attorney at the Air Force Academy. And then 1 year on faculty there at the Academy as the deputy director of their Center for Character and Leadership Development. But how did this all start, meaning my business? That all started October 19. I was actually working in the GC's office at the time as a civilian, had retired from active duty. But I actually won the Women in Drones, Women to Watch Global Award for UAS in Leadership. And it was kind of life-changing for me. It inspired me to create my company. And, in kind of short order after that, I went over to the faculty side, got out of the legal business, just because it got a little complicated. I'll leave it at that. And, I was doing like leadership by day, drones by night, weekends, holidays, every other waking moment, growing my business on the side, off-duty employment for those feds out there.
Right.
And, after a year of that, I jumped full time into the business in February of last year in 2021. So I've been able to do all this during COVID for the most part. And
how did you get into drones?
I was just to say,
you all of a sudden jumped into the drone thing. How'd you get into that space?
Did you fly
sure.
hobby drones? Or are you a Part 107 certified pilot? I mean, how'd you get into it?
Yeah. So how I got I'll answer those 2 questions, but I'm going to answer the first question, which is how I got into it. Yeah. And how I got into it was in the military as a colonel, when I was at Air Combat Command, it was about the 2012 timeframe, and a lot of the aircraft were coming home from Iraq. At the time we thought Iraq was shutting down, kind of funny looking back, the things we think at the time. But anyway, the concern was, oh, look, the birds are coming back, and these pilots have been flying in combat for 10 years overseas. The rules in the United States and the national airspace system are different. By the way, what are they? And it was kind of incredible that the DoD didn't really have a good handle at the time in 2012 of, military operations in U.S. airspace. We found a dusty policy, back in a secure vault. That was dated 2006. Nobody knew about it. It existed. But we dusted that off. I started the Domestic Imagery Working Group, the DoD's Domestic Imagery Working Group. And for easily 2 years, we met pretty regularly in the Pentagon, and then we drafted up a domestic use policy. And that was signed out in 2015 and re-upped and slightly modified in 2018. SecDef Mattis, at the time, Mad Dog Mattis signed that latest iteration. I believe it's still the current one, but that got me into drones. And look, I did some of it at CENTCOM in the which I can't talk about or I'd have to kill you, of course. But the domestic stuff and understanding laws and policies and the FAA rules and how it's all work in the national airspace, that's something that really I started at ACC, and it really sparked a passion. And then I just started researching on my own because there was a lot of state laws popping up 2013 to 2015, if you recall, like crazy state laws. And I just did a lot of writing, scholarly writing, and speaking on the topic while I was still on active duty. I just kept doing it because I loved it.
So your focus mainly on military drones, not hobby drones that you buy,
Well,
like DJI or.
Yeah, at the time I actually studied all of it because what was happening in the civilian sector could impact. Look, the military and civilian sectors, and I think Nate, and Dennis, you both know this, very symbiotic. What happens in one affects the other, and especially when you're talking about national airspace. So, I became a student of all of it, and I became an expert for sure on the military side, and in short order, an expert on the civilian side as well. And you did ask me if I have my Part 107 license yet. The answer is no. I intend to get that this summer. And then the second thing you asked me was, do I fly hobby? And I do have a hobby drone. I've only flown it a handful of times because I have a son that won't take me out very much, and I don't want to. I want to get lessons before I just fly it. Like, of all people, I appreciate this is a real aircraft, and even recreationally, it's no. I took the trust test, but I mean, come on, let's face it. After a 28 years of computer-based training in the military, right, with the Air Force, I know how to take those tests pretty well and pretty quickly. But I want to, when I'm out there with the drone, I want to do it right. And so I've really kind of held back, even from a hobby standpoint, of getting out there until I have someone that's going to really be my co-pilot, if you will.
Well, if you ever want to go out, let me know. We'll go out and fly drones together.
Okay, that'd be awesome.
I own multiple different drones. I love it. Huge thing. I've actually chosen not to get my Part 107 so I can be more of a hobbyist. Because once you get your Part 107, now you're limited more. And of course, as you know, the rules are always changing. Like, for example, like as a hobbyist, you can fly at night. You cannot fly at night if you are Part 107 unless you have special provisions and all this other kind of stuff. So those few things. Now, do I ever fly at night? No, I don't. It's just one of those things in my brain that, like, well, I don't want to take a test to get more restricted, and I'm never really planning on going to for hire or anything like that. Well, this is more just for me.
The other issue is, even when you get your license, there's no training or anything. It's like a book test, right? They just it's the laws regarding.
Oh, it's actually the same, almost the same test to become an actual pilot.
Right.
Like, that's what always drives me nuts.
There's no flying piece to it.
No, that right now there's no like practical exam, like when you take your driver's test and you have to actually show that you can park the car. There's no equivalent of that. You're right. It's kind of a book test, but to Nate's point, it's not like the trust test. I mean, it's pretty significant with the different airspace, requirements and weather. I mean, there's a lot of things on that test that you actually do have to study for it.
A lot of things you have to study for. And I've got the book. I've printed off the book. I've been studying it. But the problem is that things also that don't quite make sense to me. Like, why do you need to know all the comms plans and what runways? To me, it makes no sense because I'm not flying on a runway or near an airport.
Yeah.
Even if I do have my Part 107.
Here's why they have to do that.
You ask a lawyer that, Nate.
Well, no, I mean, I'll tell you.
She can protect me.
The policy reason behind it, a decision was made for 55 pounds and less. And so if you're flying a 55-pound drone, you're using probably a runway. And so they don't distinguish between, the smaller, lighter drones and kind of these bigger
Yeah.
ones that would need to know things like what you're talking about. I believe in Europe and some other places, they've kind of been a little bit more nuanced in that. And, so that hence, yeah, you have to learn all of it. And,
Yeah.
being air-minded, like understanding airmanship is probably not a bad idea, even as a recreational pilot, because
It's not.
at some point, yeah.
But I guess as a recreational guy, I would never have a headset with radio that I would talk to other pilots. That's my thing.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah, that's
like
true.
you said, it's got to cover kind of the spectrum.
and I
of
get
what's
that. They're
going on.
trying to generate.
I will tell you, my
generalize.
neighbor flies his all the time, and it's always, I hear it when I'm out there in the yard or something. I'm like, what? Where is he flying that from?
Well, and to be fair, the other problem nowadays is that the word drone
yeah,
has become more synonymous with vertical takeoff quads, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I refer to when I say drone. I don't think of fixed wing. I don't think of 55-pound things. I'm thinking of like I said, DJI, something costs less than $1,000 to fly hobby wise. Now I do know there's people out there flying massive 12-foot wide wingspan stuff that 747 jet propelled things, but not this guy. I don't have that kind of budget, so
Yeah.
I wish I did.
So Dawn, you start talking about conferences. I know that you have the Law Connect or Law Connect, correct?
Yeah, Law Tech Connect workshop.
Law Tech Connect, sorry.
Yeah. Honestly, this particular event is one of the main reasons why I created my company. My vision and my dream has always been to have some kind of legal policy event where I attract lawyers to come to a large technical or commercial drone expo and have the conversations that need to be had together, right? Because how many times, and you're shaking your head, I know, Dennis, because we've all seen it, where lawyers are sitting in some back room,
Yep.
hatching up some policies or some rules or plans, and without any information from industry or from the operators, from the pilots. And that doesn't mean like every lawyer needs to be a pilot, but to be able to have those conversations, including with the engineers, with the academia, have those rich conversations, and let's talk this stuff out before something, pen goes to paper. So that's kind of the idea behind it. And I created as a workshop in particular, use that term specifically because I want this to be interactive and engaging. Like, this isn't like sit there for 8 hours and hear people yammer at you. That is not the point. So this is all about like engaging, connecting, and having those connections. For me, it's always about connections. Having
Right.
those connections that are rich, that those relationships will continue after the event. And I think it's going to be invaluable. So it's going to
Now,
be on Monday. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, is it focused? Are you focusing specifically for this event? Are you focusing specifically on UAV, UAS? We can talk about that too, because I know you've had some thoughts on naming things. But is it specifically focused on drones, or is it technology? Where's the kind of focus going with this one?
I'm going to call it all the above. So just kind of like with my company, I focus on, uncrewed aircraft from small ones all the way up to large, eVTOL, advanced air mobility, urban air mobility type large aircraft, and all of the technological enablers that will make that industry happen. So, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, 5G, spectrum. We're going to cover all of these things. We're going to cover things like, this term avigation, this idea of air rights, right?
Right.
Who owns the air above your property? You just said, Dennis, you have a neighbor that buzzes around. Like, that sounds like one, but, like.
Go
until
ahead,
it
give us the
crashes.
answer. Give us the answer. I know the answer to
10,000
this
feet,
one.
right? It's 10,000 feet.
Well,
right? No?
no, honestly, the lawyer answer is it depends. And honestly,
Yeah.
this idea of air rights is actually not settled. In fact,
Oh,
it's an issue that came up in the Race Day Quads lawsuit versus FAA.
It happened one time, and it was a chicken farmer, right? Where
That's
the original,
the Cosby case, yes.
yeah, the Crosby case. So I believe right now it's settled to something like
that was 10,000.
23 feet or something like that. You own up to like 23 feet above that, it's commercial airspace. It's everybody owns it. There is no ownership.
Nate, I don't think that's accurate
I don't
because
think so either.
once again, you look, a whole like 50 plus lawyers and let's just call them representatives as part of the Uniform Law Commission got together and for 3 years haggled over this drone tort law, which tort is, when you think of personal injury, right? That's, with tort.
Yep.
You know, and they wound up having a draft model rule that, the idea is let's get a rule that all the states can adopt. And they scrubbed it, man. They scrubbed it. First, it was like, okay, we'll go 200 feet above ground level and below. This is kind of a bright line rule. And then it became, nope, we're going to go with these 13 factors. Like, does it interfere with the use and enjoyment of your property? Almost like a nuisance theory. And it just got too hard to do. And they just closed up shop and quit. And so these are really hard issues. And I'll tell you, the court in, the district court for the circuit, the Court of Appeals for the DC Circuit in Race Day Quads v. FAA, they just had the oral arguments in December. And it was really telling because the one judge looked at the Department of Justice attorney and said, help me understand this because help me write this. He said, because right now I'm thinking this is unconstitutional. Your rule, the remote ID rule. He said, if I'm in my backyard flying my drone and there's a fence and no one else can see right through that fence, how can law enforcement, how is it legal for them to track me in my backyard without a warrant?
That is true.
And I mean, literally, it was like, I said this on the Ken Herron show the other night. It was like, the DOJ guy was literally said, I guess we're going to have to rewrite that. I mean, he literally said that. So, I mean, how this is going to play out, I don't know. But again, it ties into this idea of airspace. And so fun facts, everybody. At my event, Jonathan Ruprecht, who represented Race Day Quads, Kathleen Yotis, who represented Race Day Quads, and Joshua Turner, who from Wiley Ryan, he's at that law firm, did the friend of the court brief on behalf of AUVSI that sided with the FAA. They're all speaking at my event. And Kathleen and Josh are on the avigation panel. So this is going to get interesting.
So this event, is it in person only or is it also going to be broadcast,
So it's definitely not going to be live stream broadcast. My hope is to bring my podcast producer with me and tape it all and hopefully be able to somehow have it available. I am redoing my website, t3techconsulting.com. Now, let me tell you a little bit about it super quick. So it's a one-day event, but it's not just for lawyers. Just want to stomp that.
Right.
However,
well, actually, the big event that you're having it at's like a 3-day event, right? Isn't it like a
it's almost like 4 day. Yeah. Monday, the day I'm holding mine, is like the day that typically people for the expo floor will be setting up their very elaborate booths. And there's like 3 football fields worth of expo hall space. Usually it's like, you just run around for days and blow your knee out. So Monday is when my event is, and I literally did that last year. Ask my doctor. I had to get an MRI. I'm old. So my event is Monday. It's 7:30 breakfast. I've got all meals paid for by sponsors. I got breakfast, lunch, and a really pretty robust snack in the afternoon. And the really cool thing for lawyers, because again, I'm trying to get lawyers here, even though it's not just for lawyers, is the Florida Bar actually accredited this program for 8 general or 8 technology credits for continuing legal education, because lawyers need to get CLE to maintain their license, their bar license, and also 1 mental health credit. We have these 2, we have this couple, they're incredible speakers, talking about basically the mental health crisis in technology career fields and the legal career field both. And, that's going to be kind of a special short briefing right after the lunch hour in conjunction with lunch. So really excited about it. And low price gets you the whole day. If you're a lawyer, those credits transferable to other jurisdictions, self-certifiable, the meals, and the 3-day expo hall pass.
Now,
So
and what's the expo again?
that's like literally like the floor with everybody.
No,
out
what's
there.
the name of it? What's the?
Oh, I'm sorry. The Association for Uncrewed Vehicle Systems International, AUVSI Exponential X.
Right,
Exponential
right.
2022. It's going to be in Orlando, Florida, at the Orange County Convention Center. There from Monday. Mine's Monday, the 25th of April, and then there's a big happy hour that night at Top Golf. AUVSI Florida is doing that with a whole bunch of people. And then, which I highly recommend, I'll be there too. If there's a party, I'll be there. And then all week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then I just saw just this week, the FAA announced they're having their symposium there on Thursday. And that's the thing they do a couple times a year, usually in conjunction with the AUVSI, but I've never seen it at the event. And so that's another thing. Yeah. And
So bottom line, if you're doing UAVs and or technology associated
related,
with unmanned air vehicles,
yes,
again, there's that name, right? We're kind of playing around with the name, what to
uncrewed,
kind of go with.
unmanned.
Yeah.
Aerial,
so
air.
uncrewed. Yep. So if you're into that space, and you're into that legally too, to talk about legal technology and all that, this is a good event for you to go to. Even though it's not here in the Rocky Mountain region, we are helping Dawn to promote this because we think it's a good vehicle and good event to attend if you're working in that space and or have something that connects to that space, right? We're all about ecosystems. So,
Yes.
As you mentioned, the legal piece is part of the ecosystem. It's maybe not the direct, vehicle, air vehicle or whatever, but there's all these other pieces to it.
Well,
So-
and Dennis, I know you were just at the cyber symposium there at the Broadmoor.
Yep.
Cyber is so huge. I mean, look, uncrewed vehicles, and I'm talking all
Yep.
domain, by the way. This event is not just about drones or air vehicles. It's ground, it's underwater, it's surface
Yep.
vehicles. So we actually have one panel called, air, sea, and ground lanes, for autonomous vehicles, and we're going to be talking about the law of the sea. So again, the cyber piece of this, it's huge. Artificial intelligence panel, it's going to be awesome.
I want to see that one. I wonder if I can go.
You should try to go.
So she called me out.
We should go. You could do her podcast for her.
Can I give you the $100 off promo code for all of your listeners?
Yes.
Sure can.
Yes.
Okay, it's
I don't know. Can you?
I can't remember.
No, it's XPO 22 P3 LTC. So Exponential 2022 P3 Tech, Law Tech Connect. So Expo 22 P3 LTC. And if you plug that in, you will get $100 off.
Okay.
We'll
And
put that,
is it on your website?
The promo code is not, it's not something that I've given it to a number of people. Initially it was military, government, not-for-profits, faculty, students. We're like 30 days out, and I just want to fill seats. I want people to come, and
Where
I don't
do
want
people
the price
go to sign up though?
Oh yeah,
Is it on
sure.
your website?
Yes, it is on my website. In fact, if you go to my website, P3 Tech Consulting, you'll see a pop-up of like the marketing tile. But real quick, there's a shortcut. It's HTTPS, bit.ly, bit.ly/law tech dawn. And if you go to that's going to pop you right into the AUVSI registration page.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll get this posted,
Yeah,
Dawn.
and it'll go on the show notes, all that kind of stuff.
I can put I've been helping her promote a little bit, but I can send some special things out to her over the next couple of weeks as well.
I was gonna say, so she said I was wrong on the airspace,
Oh,
so
God,
I don't
here
know
we
what
go.
the real answer
You're
is.
gonna argue with the lawyer?
No, I'm not.
There
No,
is
definitely
no
not.
good
Are you kidding me?
No, it's the answer is it's going to be litigated in the courts, and somebody's
not
going
there
to.
The answer is there still is no real law.
That's
I don't
correct.
think. But I do know. I'm pretty sure. Now, correct me if I'm wrong again. there is a law that says because it is regulated by the FAA, you are not allowed to shoot somebody else's drone out of the sky, no matter how or where they are on your property. That's still a federal law.
Yeah, so
It's a-
that is 18 U.S. Code Section 32. It's called the Aircraft Sabotage Act. And because the FAA, and that's, by the way, a Department of Justice section of the United States Code, it's the criminal statutes that the DOJ prosecutes. Obviously written for airplanes, for commercial aircraft in particular, but it applies to uncrewed aircraft systems as well because the FAA has defined a UAS as an aircraft.
Yep.
Right. Well, it is. So Dawn, and we're getting close to time because I want to be respectful of your time too. What is when are the next event? I can't talk. What
Easy
is
for
the
him to
next
say.
event that you're going to be at here in Colorado where folks could engage with you? Is it the Space Symposium? Are you going to be here at Space Symposium in the beginning of April, or is it in Exponential in Florida? I mean, you're going to be here, right? Is there any event you're coming to here? She's thinking.
I was just like you said, Dennis, just at Geo Week up in Denver.
Yeah.
Geo Int is in
Yep.
Denver the same week as AUVSI Exponential, which is super unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because I'll be down in Orlando that week, so I will miss that here, which I would have otherwise gone to. I wish there was a strategic way that people could deconflict conferences.
So that's why we started the Smalls and I started publishing the
I
calendar.
know.
That's exactly why, because there's so many activities. The week of May 23rd to the 27th is another one where there's like 5 conferences happening simultaneous.
Yeah.
So
I
nothing
don't
near
know.
term.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to head to the Space Symposium for Inside GNSS and do some coverage there. If I did, it would be in that hat, as their columnist in the media hat. But for sure, like upcoming next week, I'm actually going to the Reston, Virginia area to Xcelevate. True Weather Solutions is doing that operational beyond visual line of sight one-day event there at Xcelevate's area. So really excited about that. A lot of my buddies from the Urban Low Altitude Transport Association, kind of the Jersey, Philly connection there, they'll all be there. I'm also, I just decided today I'm going to head to Texas, to Dallas. That I'm going to go right from DC next week to Dallas and go to Adrian Doko's event. He's doing a 1-day, actually a 2-day. One is a hands-on, Sunday is hands-on, and Saturday is in the classroom event down there in Texas with the AUVSI Lone Star folks. And then beyond that, I've got an online event with Military Embedded Systems called, it's a UAS thing. So when I get more information, I'll send that to you as well.
Okay.
And then the next in-person one is definitely going to be AUVSI Exponential in my event, and then I'm staying for the week.
And then you're also involved with the Central Colorado UAS as well, and I think that conference isn't till later in the year.
Yeah, I already know the dates. So that's September 11th and 12th, Sunday, Monday. So mark your calendars. I'm absolutely going to that. I'm so excited.
Yep.
Last year
That's a
was
great
so
event.
great. That's where I met you, Dennis.
Oh,
and,
it is.
It is where we met.
Well, physically where we met, yes.
Here's another one to put on your scope, everybody out there, because there might be something relevant here. The Energy Drone and Robotics Coalition, EDRC, has an annual summit, and they're going to do it in Houston, Texas, the week of June 20th. And I'm definitely going to be doing my podcast live from there, moderating a panel. So I'm really excited to head down to Houston for that. It's a spectacular event. They have really interesting verticals like methane summit, which is very big compliance area, especially for the oil and gas industry. So that's one. And then, the other really big one I'd like to put the plug in for, to put on people's scope radar, because, hey, man, it's Las Vegas. Commercial UAV. The commercial UAV conference, summit and expo every year. And this year it's September, I believe, 6th through 8th at the Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada, right on the Strip. It's going to be
That
awesome.
one is actually already on our smallest calendar because I was trying to go to it last year and we couldn't get in, so I've been tracking that one for a while. So you could go up to the Mount Princeton Hot Springs. You can go to Vegas one week, party, go to that conference, and then go to the Mount Princeton Hot Springs the next week.
No, like literally, you should fly out of Vegas. You should fly out of Vegas into Colorado.
Yeah.
And spend the weekend at the hot springs and then Sunday out on at the drone park.
Yep.
So that's what people should be doing. Absolutely.
Well, the other thing, Dawn, I wanted to find out so we could, people could get with you face to face here in Colorado. But if you can't work that, she is available. Your website again was P3 Tech Consulting.
Yep.
Right. .com. Yep. P3techconsulting.com. And you can get a hold of Dawn there. And she's also in, as I mentioned, the new Inside GNSS magazine. She's got a couple articles in there. We didn't get to talk about that. We're going to have you back on again, but she got the flag jet.
I'd love to come back. And, the only thing I'd say is follow me on LinkedIn. If folks out there aren't following me, I post up 2 or 3 things a day. I post about all these events, all my articles. I also am on Twitter as Dawn Zoldi, Dawn at Dawn P3T. I'm on Instagram as P3 Tech Consulting, Facebook same. People shoot me Facebook requests for Dawn Zoldi. That's my personal. I don't accept those requests because that's kid and dog pictures for the fam.
Right.
So don't be upset
Stalking
if I decline your Facebook request. But follow P3 Tech on Facebook.
She's a lawyer, so don't be stalking her on her personal account.
There you go. And honestly, Dennis, until now, I've never had any creepers, and I just got a weird one in my inbox the other day, and I'm like, okay.
Oh, no.
But I'm on YouTube, and for those that are interested in doing a little bit deeper dive, I do have a Patreon. It's it's patreon.com/Dawn Zoldi. It's a subscription. I put my exclusive blog up there and bonus footage with my podcast guests that is only there. So check that out. And I also put, I'll do reviews of conferences, and I'll put out my articles in advance to my Patreon crowd in advance of everybody else, so they get to read it first. So something you might want to check out.
And see, Nate, I thought we were busy, and look at Dawn go. She's just you can't keep up.
I also teach 2 college classes, and I wrote a book, so I didn't talk about the book. But I'm doing a book signing at AUVSI, and
what's the book? Wait, what's the book?
The book is a textbook, actually, and it was before names changed and whatnot. So it's called Unmanned Aircraft Systems, Legal and Business Considerations, a Modern Primer for the Drone Industry. And because I teach Homeland Security at CSU Pueblo, and I'm now going to be teaching Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University Worldwide, their legal, drone law class at the graduate level. This book is kind of soup to nuts. It starts with the Constitution and Civics 101, 3 branches of government, to the FAA, 1958, Federal Aviation Act, and all the different statutes along the way, and then gets into specific use cases, what's an exemption, what's a waiver, all these things. And then I have a privacy chapter, security chapter, and it kind of ends on, if you have a business, some things to think about, like insurance and safety management systems, and even branding and mission statements. So it's soup to nuts, this book, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. And it's a textbook, so she can, because the laws are going to be changing, so that means she has to update the textbook to sell more copies and students, and there you go. She's a smart one.
She's a lawyer. Well, hey, Dawn, thank you. This was great and good as always. Great information and good to see you. I always have a good time talking to you and learning. Every single time we chatted, I've learned something new. So thank you, and I look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you both for what you do. I think this is really important, this idea of having a collaborative, especially for small businesses, to help them and give them situational awareness of all the different resources and conferences out there they should be tapping into. So thanks for doing that.
No, thank you, Dawn.
Yes, thank you very much. And we'll be in touch. Maybe we'll go out flying. I've got to get my drones out. I
Those
haven't
are
had one
good.
for a little while.
Dude, we can like
You-
totally
you-
do a live stream from that. Like, here I am flying with Nate.
That'd be awesome.
I'm in, man.
And unless one of us hits a tree, then there might be some explicit
Well,
words on
there's
there.
that. Yeah, you know, like in my blue brain, it's like, oh boy, that's called evidence. But yeah.
You know, I've only one time had a problem and had to run away. So thank God for that kill switch where it brings it home. So
Yeah.
There you go. All
okay.
right.
Well, Dawn, thank you so much. We're gonna exit here, and till next week, just Nate signing off.
See ya.
Thanks for listening.
You've reached the end of another episode of the Smallscast podcast. Connect with us at thesmalls.org. Don't forget to sign up to our newsletter to receive our free materials. See you at the next episode.
See you at the next episode.